Wow. So tell us exactly where you are in Boston, and so you're I guess, one of the athletes that's been over there studying. So tell us a little bit about your program, when you went, so when you left the academy, when you went, and sort of your sort of journey through the last few years in Boston.
Of course. So I am a 2015 graduate of the Academy. I started in 2014 after coming off the back of a not making a sports team that I was, really set on. Was absolutely gutted. Went home kind of questioning my place in the sport, where I was going to go next. And yeah, so Jace brought me into the Academy, and, it just completely turned around my perspective of where I was in my sport. I started getting into the gym, had some nutrition work, and a lot of conversations with Jace that just really helped me set some goals. And so I ended up being recruited for the Harvard University women's soccer team, which I started in 2017. So I'm currently at the end of my third year here. And so, yeah, it's been a great ride so far. So I'm studying neuroscience. I went into college not really knowing what I wanted to study. So I took a lot of classes that I was interested in, which helped me either find my interests or kind of rule out what I thought that I might have wanted to do, but actually, didn't end up enjoying it. And I think that's one of the really big benefits of the American college system, especially like the liberal arts schools. Because I know in New Zealand, like, you kind of have to at least choose a program kind of as you're going in. But in the States, you get to test the waters a little bit. So soccer is a fall sport, which means that our season goes from August to around about November. And that's when the first semester of the college term, which goes from August to December. So yeah, you come in as a freshman, and for my team personally, there was like a 10-day period where it was just like preseason, which, if we think about a lot of the preseasons for club sports in New Zealand, it's a pretty short time. You get on campus, you have, you meet 30 new people that are on your team. You have 10 days to kind of get to know everyone, and then you have your first game. So, everything gets off the bat really quickly. So yeah, for my conference, which is the Ivy League, we have a period of what we call non-conference play, which is we play a lot of teams kind of in the area. I think there's about roughly 10 of those games per year, and that is over a pretty short period of time. So through the month of September, I think sometimes there was a couple of seasons where we might have had, 9 games in less than 3 weeks. Wow. If I'm remembering it correctly, which, it's a lot of games. Sometimes a typical week could look like maybe game on Monday, recovery day, game on Wednesday, recovery day, a practice day, recovery game. So,
wow.
And trying to fit that around classes and everything else going on is a really big balancing act. But over the years, I've, with experience and talking to teammates, have really figured out a way to balance everything. So
nice. So from your freshman year, you then go into, what's the second year called?
The second year is sophomore year.
Yeah.
And then third year is a junior, and fourth year is senior year. So
cool. So now you're into your senior year, is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm currently a rising senior, so I'll be going into my senior year this coming fall. So right now I'm just getting into exam period. Everything's a little different now that classes are online. So the university's figuring that out now. So yeah, and then I'll be done in a couple of weeks.
Well, so I guess you're a bit different for some of the athletes, other people. You've chosen to stay and at the uni and over there in the States. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and how that came about, and how the exams are actually going? And are you still sit them online? even though you're there?
Of course, yeah. So yes, so I'll be sitting. So basically, even though the university let, I think it's like roughly 400 students remain on campus, everything has shifted to an online format. So even though I'm still here, all of the main buildings and common spaces are closed, and I'm really only allowed to be in my dorm. So I do all my classes from this room. Every class kind of adopted a different policy depending on what it was. Professors, since they had, I think, a week or 2 weeks to transition an in-person course to an online format, they gave students a lot of leeway when it comes to moving forward with classes. And the university shifted to a pass-fail grading system rather than letter grades, which has taken a lot of stress away from academics so that people can focus on their health and families during this time, which has been really, really helpful.
Wow, that's amazing. Like that, nothing like that's happened in New Zealand. So that's a fascinating decision. I think it's for the health and wellness of the athletes and the students is amazing. Does that just happen recently?
So that was, I think that was announced. So we received a notification that we had to leave campus on March 10th. And I want to say that they released the grading policy about 2 weeks later. I could be wrong about this, but that's like kind of the rough timeline.
Awesome.
So I guess a lot of students had kind of let the administration know that, you know, I mean, obviously that was something that they had considered prior to the move to an online format, but yeah. And I think a lot of colleges have kind of taken the lead. They've taken Harvard's lead and also adopted similar policies.
Okay. Oh, cool. So yeah, that would certainly take some pressure off you. So I guess the plan is, so you're there for another couple of weeks, and then you'd be like in the middle of your fall sport. I guess fall sports is really about to start, like we're starting to warm up. So what happens? What's the decisions that have been made around the fall sports in America?
So no official decisions have been made yet, to my current knowledge. There are a lot of different rumors that are flying around, and it's, you know, such an uncertain time that it's definitely hard to say. And based on what I've heard, no one really knows what's going to happen to fall sports. And I think something that makes it a little bit difficult is that in terms of like the governing body of all of the sports, well, all college sports in America, since, you know, different states have been hit harder than others, it's going to be so hard to have that, like, it's going to be hard to have a decision that's going to be right for everywhere. So I think, so my conference has announced that they're going to make all the decisions together. So what one college does, everyone else is going to do the same thing. Cool. It's hard to say, and it's something that my teammates are also going to be seniors. We've spoken about that, and there's a lot of worry, but we're doing our best to stay positive and really hoping that we're going to get our senior season. So
yeah, because the senior season, can tell us a little bit about that, because there's some different stuff around that, in the States.
Yeah, so senior season is really cool. So, I mean, for me personally, my journey, I started a lot my freshman year, and, you know, got a lot of playing time, got kind of tripped up by an injury that it was supposed to, my recovery time was supposed to be around 3 months, but it ended up being around 10, which kind of derailed my sophomore season. And I also didn't get a lot of playing time my junior season either. And so I was really hoping and, you know, training hard to put myself in the best possible position to make my senior season kind of a comeback season. But no, senior season is, it's just such a great time. There's so for our final home game, we have what we call senior day. So we'll decorate the locker room, put up pictures of all the seniors, make them posters before the game. Everyone, families and parents and friends and stuff, will walk out onto the field with them, and yeah, it's a really great time.
Nice. So I guess you're a bit of like Academy Southland athletes this year in Summer Mist and Junior Worlds, and lots of things being cancelled, and nobody really knows around, around this. Sort of how are you making sense of that in your own head and your own brain? A little bit about neuroscience. So how are you making sense of this not being able to control things that may be happening in the future? So how are you coping with that?
Yeah, so as somebody who always likes to have a plan,
Yeah.
This has been quite difficult for me to deal with and to grasp. But I think what's helped me the most is just taking things one day at a time. We've talked a lot in our team meetings about, doing what you can to get a little bit better every day and kind of just holding on to that. And I think, the long term is so hazy, and it's like a rabbit hole that I can just get into in my head and, start thinking about all the things that could go wrong or the things that might not happen. But so I'm just really trying to focus on the present. And
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I'm feeling with that.
And is it interesting, because we've talked about this before, you and I, but you've had several of these experiences where you've had some pretty, big dreams and pretty cool things that you've wanted to achieve, and it hasn't always worked out the way you've wanted it. So what have you learned about yourself, I guess, through those that's helping you now as well? Because it hasn't been it's not a straight line performance, is it? And it's certainly something you've learned.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I think what I learned from missing out on a lot of the things that I was aiming for has been that there's so many opportunities that you don't know that are coming, that are right around the corner. Like if I had an opportunity to go back and tell the, sad and upset me who just didn't make that team, or, didn't get that opportunity, that I would be doing what I'm doing now, I wouldn't have the words.
No.
And yeah, I'm really happy that I think that kind of put me on the path to come here, and has really prepared me for that. So
yeah. Absolutely. And I guess what are those things that you learned, I guess, during those couple of years with us, or a year and a bit with us, that you use now, and I guess in these sort of tough times as well, but just in general, what are the things that you, I guess, took out of that academy time that you think helps you prepare you for life in America, but also for times like this?
Yeah. So I think I learned a lot about planning, and how, like, the importance of planning during my time in the academy. Like, when I was working in the gym with Nadine, would always have a set plan, would have goals, and all the different speakers that came to speak to us at those meetings as well, that we had always, emphasized planning, and kind of like the act of following through with those plans. Just really, like, keeps you on the right path. So yeah, planning and goal setting is probably the two biggest things that I took out of the academy.
And I think that's what you're talking about now. It's like, that's those two things, right? It's like, but how do I use those? Because it's so hard, because we've talked to other athletes, there's no outcome, right? So how do I, I love what you said, there's no outcome, so I have to focus on the present, live day by day, which really tests their brain, doesn't it? Because it loves a good outcome to hang on to.
Yeah, and I remember one conversation that we had, I think right before I joined the academy, was something that I took away and still think about a lot now, is just like those stepping stone goals that kind of lead you up towards the big goals. And I think that's what I'm trying to do now, rather than having like a big outcome goal right now. I have little, like, mini goals that I'm working towards to get better at. So
nice.
Yeah.
So obviously you're still over there in Boston. Have you got plans to, I know you have, but what's the little mini plans about coming home? Is that still on the table?
Yeah. So I originally was going to stay here for the summer and be an RA at the summer school, but since the summer school has moved online, I'm going to be coming home. So I'll be, I think, getting into the country around the 22nd of May. And then I'll be in quarantine for 2 weeks, and then hopefully be able to head home. So
nice. So that's going to be an adventure all by itself, Sammy, I imagine, just plane hopping and that as well. So that'll test some of your resilience as you got another adventure.
Yeah, it'll be quite the experience. I'm someone who gets nervous about missing flights and flight times when I'm in airports, so that'll be interesting.
Nice. And so, what are you looking forward to most when you get home?
Just spending time with the family, really. I think looking through a lot of social media posts from lockdown, I think the biggest thing that a lot of people have got out of that is the extra time with family. And since I wasn't planning originally to come home from the summer, this is just some unexpected time with my family that I'm really looking forward to. So
nice. So we might touch base even as you go, and even when you're in lockdown for a couple of weeks in Auckland in a hotel, wherever you are, we might touch base with there and see how life's going there and how you're coping with that, because I'm sure that'll be a little bit challenging in itself.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. So look forward to catch up then, and thanks for sharing.